Anytime indoor champion.
And anytime I want.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
Anytime you want.
Oh my God.
All right. And the many times state regional champion. And he falls down a lot. And he's the Texas duelist that kicks Matt Masterson's ass. Nuttin Graceful.
Thought we really had to take a long time for that. All right, it's time for the Love Fest to be over. Ringo, you ready? You get eggs. And most people don't realize it. Some of you heard it, but I met Tbone back in about 1978 or before when we went to junior high and high school together.
We was in the 6th grade.
So we've been around for quite a while. And I've known him since back then, but there's one thing he keeps trying to sell to everybody is the idea that he's a Texan. He ain't a Texan.
I was.
Matter of fact, the boy was born in California.
Oh no! I got a weed eater!
Now, all right, everybody's seen this tonight. We've held our court case. We've gathered the evidence, and he claims he's from Los Angeles, but from the evidence we've seen tonight, don't you think it's a lot more likely he came from San Francisco? All right, from his California days, one of the things that Tbone claims to have done when he was that age was be a boxer. And he claims he was pretty good.
Prize fight.
A little ducking, a little covering. And when he shows up in East Texas, there's not exactly a lot of fight clubs in Northeast Texas to be able to go to. Where they got boxing organizations you can participate in.
Had to whoop some ass.
So he was picking fights on a quite regular basis throughout his entire school time.
He ain't stopped yet.
But there was one thing that I never quite understood about what he did. And that was about once a year. And it happened every year. He'd get thrown out of school for about 5-7 days, expelled, thrown completely out of the damn school. Because he got in a fight on Friday, the day before deer season. And that's the truth.
His mama said.
Now Tbone, if you've been around him, he can't swim. Can't swim a lick. Matter of fact, he sinks like a rock. Now, Big Daddy, y'all wanted to take him fishing. And he wouldn't want to get on that boat. I've seen him walk out in about 4 feet of water, and he ain't very tall, and pick his feet up and just go to the bottom like that.
I need floaties.
But I've asked him if he can't grow some kind of ground cover, some kind of hedge, something between my house and the lake. Because I woke up one morning, got my cup of coffee, looked out over the little kitchen sink, and I saw him
right over the lake,
walking on the dock of his lake, wearing a spandex bikini with purple arm floaties on his arm.
It was an early morning swim.
Going out to the lake for his morning little drive.
I was going to put that in the slideshow. I really was.
Have you ever heard?
Come up and bite you.
Have you ever heard of anybody that can't swim taking scuba diving lessons? Now, he took scuba diving lessons. As a matter of fact, did you get certified?
I am certified.
A certified scuba diver that can't swim.
You don't gotta swim. You go underwater.
But he's got. Hold it. I got to talk about this underwater thing.
That's exactly. I got.
Bell ladies, get your bells ready.
He's underneath the water, and he's swimming around, and he's looking at the fish, and he's enjoying this entire experience of this nice day. And all of a sudden, he gets
Wait. You ain't gonna tell that story, are you?
He gets a little low grumble down in his stomach. You know how that happens from time to time?
After you eat a lot of eggs and bacon and
kind of
syrup.
down low, kind of bothers you a little bit.
There's a lot of syrup. Make some pancakes.
Now, when you're in about 30 feet of water,
Look it
with a
up.
full scuba gear rig on, in the middle of the lake, and if you go up, the only thing you got to go to is a boat. What do you do? What do takes care of what he needs to take care of. And sits back and watches the accomplishment that he's just created go floating down the stream.
That's supposed to be
That's
family.
another true story.
He was proud.
In fact, he was so proud he was bragging on
Now everybody knows that Tbone is red on the pawn shop.
But before you go any further than that, the people that was up canoeing, they didn't realize what was happening.
Not yet.
They was being attacked by a large monster.
Fish loved it.
Biggest baby root they ever saw.
Now Tbone is red down on the pawn shop. And if you ever heard it, Tbone's got this motto. He said, "I cheat you less than anybody." I can tell you it's not true. Because when I first started shooting, I showed up with some fine weapons that I was really proud of, and he somehow talked me into, purchasing other weapons, and I'm still making payments on them. But his dad told him a motto of running the pawn shop, and that was, you can kill a sheep once, but you can shear him about 2 or 3 times a year. I've given everybody this advice, and for everybody that's here tonight, please listen close. If there's 3 or 4 people standing around, and one of them's Tbone, and they're talking about money, somebody's getting screwed, and it ain't him.
You got that written on your hand, don't you?
Hell, that's the only tattoo he's got.
I designed it.
That's a 10.
10 and a half.
Borderline away.
Now, okay, we had our high school times. He went off to the Army, and I went off to work for the fire company, and some 20 years later,
I went to deter aggression on the frontier of freedom.
we're going to hear that story later.
He was in the band.
So anyway, we go, I shot at Glen Rose and Cleburne and places like that, and I knew TJ Wild and Cowtown and some of those guys, and they kept talking about this cowboy range that was up in Clarksville, Texas, that I ought to go to sometime. We grew up on the other side of the county from where the Badlands is at, and my dad still lives there. So we figured that what we'll do is I will go up there, and I'll carry my guns with me, and I'll see my dad, and then I'll go over and I'll check this new range out. So I show up at the new range. When I get there, there's a guy walking around carrying a clipboard, walking, talking official, shaking hands, pumping palms, doing what Tbone does. And he climbs up on the gallows and starts talking, and I realize who it is.
It was me.
So I walk over to him, and I said, "Hey, Bill, I'm Ed."
I said, "Hey, Ed, I'm Bill."
And I said, "Hey, Bill, I'm Ed."
I said, "I'm still Bill."
See, that's true too. So as we go along for a while, he learns who I am. I start coming up there, and I come on a regular basis. I start shooting, and he comes to me one day and says, "Do you want to win?" I said, "Sure, I want to win. Look at the weapons I'm shooting. I'm shooting some Cimarron Colt clone pistols, 45 caliber. I'm shooting 6 grains of powder with 250 grain bullets. I'm shooting a Winchester 94 and a Stevens shotgun. It's got about a 47.5-inch barrel on it." Well, I'm still making payments on the replacement guns from that. So he put me in a training program. He said, "You want to win?" I said, "Yeah, I want to win." He said, "Be here next weekend. We're going to start training." So I show up the next weekend. I didn't realize the training program involved 2 hours of practice and 5 hours of range work. Weekend after weekend after weekend. Now, his training program,
Testify.
if you haven't been through this, his training program, one-on-one, involves a fly swatter. And in the summertime, when you're wearing shorts and you're out there practicing, if you're standing there and you're getting ready to shoot, you got a pistol in both hands, and you pull out your first pistol and you don't put your hand on the second pistol, that hand gets slapped. And then when you pull the other pistol out, if this hand don't go on the rifle, this hand gets slapped. And if you're standing in the doorway and you get ready to take a long step, and you don't do it, you wear the back of the legs out with a fly swatter.
Just like Mama.
I learned to reach and grab and step and fetch and learn to cover ground. Now, after we came to our first coming at you, Candy came along. She wasn't shooting at the time, honey. And so when we were on our way home, she says, "You know, if you're going to keep doing this, I am going to have to get me some
And I
guns
saw
and
Red
start
Dooley
shooting."
do it, so I knew I could.
She's your hero.
She's my hero.
Mine too.
Mine too.
So what do you do when you get a cow out to shoot? Don't let them back up with a pole behind them.
Your pregnancy testers.
He's still says then, I hate that saying.
So I went out and bought 2 pistols, a rifle, and a shotgun, and she was fully equipped by Thursday of the next week. So I put her in a training program the way I was taught to be in a training program, and I kind of like the fly swatter, and Nuttin kind of liked it too. Now, has anybody here ever heard how Tbone Dooley started shooting cowboy action? He started shooting cowboy action by cowboy action mounted shooting. Now his buddy up the street up there, Hat Creek John, came to the pawn shop one day, and he comes into the pawn shop and he says, "Hey, I joined this organization called SAS." And with being in the SAS organization, they got this thing called mounted shooting. And since we got horses and we got guns, what we ought to do is go ahead and start mounted shooting. So, what was your horse's name, Joe?
Trigger. Joe.
Trigger. Wasn't it Joe?
Yeah, Joe.
So he gets Joe out, he gets Joe prepared, and Joe ain't never had no gun shot off his back, you know, so he gets out there and he starts running, and of course when he fires the guns, Joe starts flinching.
Bad.
So, Tbone's got a solution. So he goes down to the dollar store and buys a box of tampons. He comes back and looks at these tampons in this poor horse's ears. And he climbed up on top of the horse, and after he got up on top of the horse, what?
The horse loved it, but them strings coming out kind of tickled him.
So he climbed up on top of the horse, and when Joe would sling his head, it looked like a kite with a string broke. So to solve that problem, he tied 2 or 3 bandanas together and tied them around his head to hold them in, right? So now Tbone's cowboy action mounted shooter, sitting on top of the horse with his guns loaded, riding a horse with tampons in his ears and a bandana tied around top of his head.
My horse was embarrassed.
This is not an exaggeration. Now he goes to his first cowboy match. He's never been to a cowboy match at all. So he goes down to Fredericksburg. I think it was the Southwest Regional Championship. Go right to the top, right off the bat. Go to the Regional Championship. Goes up there with his horses, goes up to the line, gets everything ready to go, pulls up, and the guy's there and says, "Give me your pistols." And he said, "What are you going to do?" He says, "I'm going to load your pistols." He said, "Don't worry about that, they're already loaded. But you're not going to back them people up right over there a little bit." This was when Tbone Dooley found out you shot blanks in mounted shooting and not real bullets. And the front of his horse was always bloody when he was
My horse did
steel
not know
targets.
this. They had forgot to tell me about the blank part.
That is so a true story, guys.
It is.
He's a pretty good shot.
My horse went